You believe in accountability. You hold yourself to a standard. When you make a mistake, you own it. When you see a problem, you raise it. When a process is broken, you try to fix it. You have also watched someone operate without any of those constraints for years. Missed deadlines, chronic errors, complaints filed and forgotten, layoffs that took capable people and left this one untouched. And at some point, the disorientation became something else. Not just frustration. A quiet, unsettling question. Am I the one who misunderstood how this works? You did not misunderstand. You were given an incomplete map. The system you are watching does not evaluate performance. It evaluates removal cost. Those are different calculations, and only one of them was ever explained to you. My name is Jordan. This channel is about handing you the complete map, including the parts that make everything else finally make sense. Picture someone, consistent, ethical, the person who surfaces problems early, covers gaps without being asked, and delivers what they commit to. Now picture a colleague who has been creating friction for 3 years, missed commitments, dropped handoffs, a documented HR complaint that produced a conversation and nothing else. Our person raises it again, calmly, with specifics. Through the proper channel. 2 months later, a restructuring eliminated 3 roles. Our person's is one of them. The colleague is not. The explanation they receive is clinical. Role elimination, organizational priority, nothing personal. But they know the colleague's output. They have been compensating for it for 18 months. The idea that the organization found that role more valuable than theirs on any performance metric does not hold. The question they are left with is, what is the actual variable? The answer is not corruption. The answer is not favoritism in any personal sense. It is a cost calculation, one that runs silently in every organization, in every restructuring, in every HR complaint cycle. The colleague was not protected because they were valuable. They were protected because removing them was more expensive than keeping them. And the person bearing that expense was you. There are 3 mechanisms producing this outcome. None of them require malice. All of them are structural, and once you name them, they are everywhere. Mechanism number 1, the removal cost calculation. When a performance issue reaches a decision maker, they do not evaluate it on its merits. They evaluate it on its cost. Resolving the complaint requires documentation, formal warnings, potential legal review, transition planning, knowledge transfer, and a coverage gap while the function is rebuilt. All of that cost falls on the person being asked to act. Tolerating the problem costs them nothing because the visible consequences of the underperformance are absorbed by the competent people in the surrounding function. The person absorbing the cost is not in the room. The person bearing the resolution cost is. This is not a failure of the system. It is the system functioning correctly according to its actual incentives. The complaint was evaluated accurately against the cost of resolution, and the cost of resolution was judged too high. You were never asking for accountability. You were asking someone to accept a cost they had no obligation to carry. Mechanism number 2, the expectation floor effect. Consistent performance creates a standard. The organization attaches that standard to your name. Deviations downward register as violations, and violations produce disproportionate reactions because you have trained the system to expect more. The underperformer has been running the opposite process. Their failures are not violations. They are confirmations of an expectation the organization has already calibrated to dysfunction. No alarm is triggered. No reaction is produced. The emotional and managerial energy that responds to broken expectations has simply nothing to activate. This is why you have watched a single late submission from you produce a response, while the same submission from the second colleague, for the 3rd time in a quarter, produces nothing. It is not that you are held to a higher standard because you are more capable. It is that you built a higher standard, and the system now enforces it on you automatically. You created an expectation of excellence. They created an expectation of problems. Both expectations are now being met precisely. Mechanism number 3, the invisible subsidy. At some point, you stopped escalating and started absorbing. The gap they created, you filled. The function they dropped, you covered. You told yourself this was professionalism. It was also something else. Every function you absorbed removed a visible signal that should have forced the organization to act. The decision maker, who has never experienced the direct consequence of the colleague's failures, has no concrete cost to weigh against the cost of removing them. You eliminated the data point that would have changed the calculation. The result? You are now running 2 jobs while they run half of one. The organization has structured itself around your willingness to compensate. That structure depends on you in a way that looks like value but functions like obligation. You thought you were demonstrating your worth. You were underwriting the arrangement that keeps them employed. Let me tell you about the escalation. Here's the compounding effect most people do not fully map. The longer the invisible subsidy runs, the more embedded the colleague becomes. Their functions are undocumented. Their client relationships are unshared. Their institutional knowledge has never been transferred. Every month of inaction makes the eventual transition more expensive. Leadership's rational response to a rising removal cost is further inaction. Meanwhile, your position shifts in the opposite direction. You have documented everything. You have trained colleagues on your processes. You have made yourself operationally transferable, because that is what excellent, ethical professionals do. You have reduced your own removal cost to near zero. The colleague who hoarded and created dependencies is on the disruption list. The disruption list survives. You are on the redistribution list. You were eliminated not because you were less valuable. You were eliminated because you made it easy. The reframe is this. You have been operating in a system that rewards embedding over excellence, and you've been optimizing for excellence, while the colleague optimized for embedding. This is not a reason to become a colleague. It is a reason to understand that competence and structural security are different assets, and you have been building only one of them. See the system accurately. Removal cost governs protection in disruption. Performance governs recognition in stable conditions. Most people only experience the stable condition game and discover the disruption game exists when they are already on the redistribution list. You are in the stable condition window right now. The moves that change your position need to happen here. Here are 3 precise moves to make this week. Move 1. Identify a functional area where you are absorbing the colleague's failures, and stop doing it silently. The next time their failure creates a visible gap, surface it in writing to your manager, not as a complaint, as a resource conversation. You are making visible a cost that currently has no data point in anyone's decision-making process. That data point changes the calculation. Move 2. Choose one domain where you currently hold no documented dependency and begin building deliberate expertise that would require planned transition to transfer. The goal is not to hoard. It is to ensure your departure is planned, not absorbed. That shift changes where you land on the restructuring list. Move 3. Document your actual workload this week in terms of coverage, not deliverables. Not what you produced, what you covered that was not formally your function. Share it with your manager in a resource conversation. Every decision made about your role is currently made without knowing what disappears if you leave. Stop making yourself easy to remove. That is not cynicism. That is the complete rulebook. Before you go, let me say this to you go, back to the person in the story. They were not wrong. Their conduct was correct. Their performance was real. The work they covered, the gaps they filled, the standard they held, all of it was genuine. They were operating with half the information. They knew the performance game. They did not know the embedding game. And by the time the restructuring arrived, the colleague had been playing the embedding game for 3 years, while they had been optimizing for a metric that protects you in normal conditions, but leaves you exposed in disruption. Understanding this does not require you to change who you are. It requires you to add a second layer of strategic awareness to the professional integrity you already have. Your competence is not the problem. Your competence, deployed without structural intelligence, has been the most expensive gift you ever gave to someone who did not deserve it. The system does not owe you protection for your performance. You have to build the conditions that make removing you more expensive than keeping you. If you are getting something from this, consider subscribing. I make videos like this every week, and I try to make every single one worth your time. I'm Jordan. Thank you for watching.